This is not one of the easier days of my life. In fact, it's a hard day. So I thought I would tell you about it. I could say it's not one thing, it's everything. It's that it's not one thing, it's everything kind of feeling, except that it actually is one thing if I am willing to be completely honest. And it's that I lost my alignment and lost my connection in direction with the divine. I'm coming back again. But I thought I'd bring you in on the process. This is kind of what we do in Doorways to the Divine, but I'm kind of just rehearsing it for myself right now. You know those fish? Have you ever seen a fish or a video of a fish facing upstream and swimming upstream? And the angle is so important. Like it's got to be so clear and so straight to be able to move against the current and between all those rocks. And if it turns off to the side, this is what I mean by losing alignment. It's like when that fish is facing aloft and only facing aloft. It can see, it's got them eyes on the side, it can see what's going on around it. It's aware of everything. But its heart is facing aloft. Its heart is facing source. Its heart is facing whatever we want to call that big love. And it's sustained by it and also kept in the proper alignment, not as a kind of like, I'm going to keep myself in alignment. It's not like a tight thing. It's like once there's alignment, there's this sense of lived connection with something that is incredibly sustaining and strengthening and healing and filling. And it also is what the compass needle is pointing to. So there's the alignment that allows the relationship, but then the relationship feeds the alignment. It's like, okay, I need to move around those rocks, and I'm going to do it while staying in this relationship. I'm not sure what threw me off. I think it was the shootings in Texas. Just hit me, boom, smack, and then when that fish turns just a little bit sideways, bam, it just gets flung down the rest of the river, hitting into rocks and being banged. And then that's that feeling of it's not one thing, it's everything. It's just this feeling of like, man, I just got beaten up by everything that's ever happened in my life and everything that's ever happened in everybody else's life, and the sorrow. Without that alignment and without that connection, the sorrow is pulverizing, incapacitating. I cannot live with it. So I started eating potato chips and listening to Dungeons and Dragon podcasts. That was my first move. It's like, let's dissociate from this. However, I have various other commitments in my life. And the Sufi path is one of them. So I'm on my way back now. We call it Tauba on the Sufi path, the return, the willingness to admit that I got kind of off track there, blindsided and caught in my own, caught in a kind of rejection and distrust that sent me tumbling. So Tauba is first the admission that I lost it. I lost the connection. That is what sustains a heart in the midst of troubled times. And It is the intention. Tauba next is the intention. I want to come back to you, Allah. I want to return, my beloved source. I want my heart to be helped, to be realigned. And if that means that there's some attitudes inside of me, or some beliefs inside of me, or pictures, images, or dreams about what life was supposed to be like, that I need to let go in order to come back to the real in such a way that I can be sustained by the real. Then I am not just willing, I am putting myself forward, saying, okay, Allah, remake me, because I can't survive without that heart-to-heart resuscitation that goes on when I am dedicating my life. So I'm feeling it now. It is not an absence of pain. I can tell you that clearly. I weep for those parents. I weep for the children who lost their friends in such an amazing way. And when I do not go shearing off into this or that, continue to feel what I feel from my human perspective, and also make that connection with the divine. It already feels very, very different. It does not feel pain-free. The human and the human condition, there's pain in it. Perhaps as I walk closer to the divine, there will be a shift in perspective. I don't know that. Maybe there will, maybe there won't. Rabia, a Sufi saint, used to weep ceaselessly for the suffering in this world, and she was a saint. So it's not as though she suddenly said, oh, la-di-da, it's all for their own good, and so that's all marvelous and I'm happy. She continued to weep for the human suffering. I may continue to weep for the human suffering, but I'm also in a process already, and now I'm starting to feel it more in the upper chest, like the right in right in here. I feel the tow rope of Allah, because I'm back facing in that direction. Up here, I'm feeling all kinds of things moving and changing and shedding that have to do with things that have happened in my own life that I have labeled tragic and then shut down in there. It's like a whole thing in here, and then it opens in lung 1, lung 2, and there's a whole thing going on in my head. It's very hard to explain and really trippy to be involved in walking through a doorway to the divine while narrating and sharing it at the same time. There is a joy that makes absolutely no sense at all. I am not less sad, but I'm also feeling this joy come in to the extent that I'm willing to make no sense at all and surrender my body and surrender my mind to the relationship with the big love, with the real, with whatever we want to call it. Stand and let it wash me, and also let myself be pulled and make the commitment to keep walking. This is what we do. This is the Sufi thing. We get totally messed up some of the time, and get carried off and then get beaten up as we go flying down the rocks. Then eventually we find a little tide pool. And I don't know, I usually have a little bit of dissociating time where I'm just like, I need to read a book. I need to, yeah. And just, and then we make tauba. Then we make tauba. We take the parts of us that are so mad at God that this is happening at all and say, I get it that my attitude is getting in the way of my being able to return, which is what I need in order to be able to bear existence. We connect with even a small part of ourselves. And even that small connection makes this opening. I know I'm closing my eyes a lot, but that it just seems to happen. Yeah. And as much as possible, we make the real tauba, which is a surrender to let ourselves be changed tremendously and beyond our imagination, beyond our specific request. That's probably one of the biggest parts of it. Because as I let go of this, excuse me, my lungs are changing right now. I don't even know what I'm letting go of. I'm not tracking it. I'm just saying, Allah, I'm yours. Redo this. And the joy comes in, not the denial joy. Certainly not a joy that makes me want to go back to eating potato chips and listening to podcasts. I'd rather be, just be. I think that these are times when, if we do not have a connection with the divine, and when we do not have a sense of that doorway, an orientation, a compass, and at least a rudimentary makeshift methodology for walking through that doorway of tauba, that doorway of return, that doorway towards relationship with source, we get mushed to shit and are liable to need some form of medication in the form of various distractions. So today is a great example of it yet again. And I'm already feeling a lot better, again, not pain-free, but with that ridiculous strength of unconquerable joy in the midst of it. I'm still gonna cry over what happened in Texas, and I'm still gonna cry over this nation of ours and this incredible uncertainty that we are all living in. But I am not going to, inshallah, I'm not, at least on purpose, not going to curl up in a ball of attitude. I'm going to keep saying thank you. Please keep this fish pointed very, very clearly where I can swim upstream back to the source. Change everything in me along the way. Okay, so this is a sample of what we'll be doing in our Doorways to the Divine workshop. But even though even though I'm meant to be inviting you to the workshop, and I am, don't wait for the workshop. You don't need a workshop. Come to the workshop if you like. But don't let anything stop you from turning and walking through the doorways to the divine now and through all of the craziness. All right. But if you want company, I'll see you at the workshop. Thank you for being good and holy company right now.